Welcome to tonight's tale, a story whispered in darkness, a story that waits for you just before sleep. Close your eyes, listen carefully, and let the shadows guide you. This is the house on Hollow Creek. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the air still smelled of wet soil and pine. I drove slowly along the narrow country road. The headlights caught twisted branches that clawed across the path. Every mile pulled me deeper into silence. Finally, I saw it. The house, an old, crooked thing. Its roof sagged. Its windows gaped like hollow eyes. Hollow Creek House. That's what the villagers had called it, though none of them seemed eager to say the name aloud. The landlord had offered me the place for almost nothing. Just a few nights, I told myself, a quiet place to work, to think, yet not by animals, not by people, but by the house itself. The porch groaned as I stepped onto it. Paint peeled beneath my fingers. The key slid into the lock with resistance, as though the door had not been opened in years. Inside, dust floated in the pale light. The smell of damp wood and something older, something sour, filled the air. My footsteps echoed. Every sound stretched too far, as if the walls themselves carried it onward. The rooms were bare, except for a few forgotten chairs, and an old grandfather clock that no longer ticked. As I explored, I found the staircase, its railing bent like a spine, leading into darkness above. I hesitated. A whisper. Or was it the wind? I froze. The house was silent again. I climbed the stairs. Every step complained. Halfway up, I noticed a door at the end of the hall. The wood bore faint scratches, like something had clawed at it. I stepped back. The house seemed to hold its breath. That night, I told myself I was imagining things. Old houses creak. Wood contracts. Wind moans through cracks. But when I lay in bed, the silence grew heavy, and from upstairs, beyond the locked door, came the sound of knocking. The sun sank behind the trees. The house darkened, and silence crept in. I lit a single lamp. Its glow reached only a few feet, leaving the corners of the room in shadow. Everywhere else, the darkness thickened. I tried to read. I tried to distract myself, but the house had other plans. Creaks came from the ceiling above, soft at first, then heavier, like footsteps. I looked at the locked door at the end of the hall. I thought of the scratches around its frame, but I told myself again, old houses make noise. The wind howled outside. Branches scraped against the windows. The floorboards shifted under my chair. And then a whisper, clearer this time. Not the wind, not the house, but a voice. my name. I froze. The lamp flickered. The shadows deepened. I listened. The whisper came again, stretched thin like breath through teeth. This time, it came from behind the wall. Just a few feet away, I backed toward the staircase. The air felt heavy, cold, thick, like it wanted me still. I climbed into bed, refusing to look at the door. The sheets felt damp. The room smelled faintly of earth-like, something buried. I closed my eyes, but I could not sleep. Hours passed. The grandfather clock downstairs groaned, though its hands had not moved in years. And then, the floorboards outside my bedroom door. Slow, deliberate steps. 1, 2, 3. I held my breath. The handle turned. It stopped, shaking gently, as if tested by an unseen hand. I stared into the dark, frozen, and in the silence that followed, a knock, soft, just once, on the inside of the locked door. Upstairs, morning came slowly. Gray light filtered through the curtains, but the house remained cold, as if the sun could not reach inside. I told myself it had only been a dream. The knocking, the footsteps, all of it. Just the mind playing tricks in a strange place. But when I opened my bedroom door, the hallway was colder than the room behind me. I walked toward it. That heavy door at the end of the hall. The one that had rattled in the night. The scratches were clearer now. I knelt down. Fingers traced the grooves in the wood. Not random, not the work of time. Claw marks. I tried the knob again. It resisted. Stubborn, locked tight. Something shifted on the other side. A faint shuffle, like fabric brushing against wood. I stepped back quickly. The house groaned. A low, aching sound that echoed through the beams. I spent the day downstairs. I lit the fireplace, though the smoke curled strangely, reluctant to rise. I brewed tea, trying to ignore the feeling of eyes on my back. Every mirror in the house was covered with dust, except one. An oval mirror leaned against the wall in the dining room. Its surface was clean, as if someone had been using it. When I passed by, I swore I saw movement. A shadow, not mine. I avoided it for the rest of the day. That evening, I carried a chair up to the locked door. I sat in front of it, waiting, listening. The house fell silent. So silent, I could hear my own breath, my own heartbeat. Then, faint scratching. From the other side, soft at first, then faster, more desperate. I held my breath. The knob twitched beneath my gaze, and in the dark, I heard it again. The whisper, my name, but this time, closer, right behind the door. I tried to sleep again, but the scratching never stopped. It rose and fell like breathing, sometimes slow, sometimes frantic. At dawn, I stumbled downstairs, exhausted, shaking. That was when I noticed the mirror, the oval one, leaning in the dining room. Its glass seemed brighter than before, almost glowing in the morning light. I froze in the doorway, because in the reflection, I wasn't alone. A pale shape stood behind me, tall, motionless, its face blurred, as if the glass refused to hold its features. I spun around. The room was empty. My heart hammered. I looked back at the mirror. Just me now, and yet something lingered at the edge of the frame. A shadow just out of reach. I grabbed an old sheet and covered it. The cloth clung too tightly, as if the glass pulled at it. I left it like that, refusing to touch it again. But that night, I dreamed of the mirror. In the dream, I stood before it, the sheet gone, the surface rippling like water. The pale figure stepped forward, out of the glass, into the room. I woke with a gasp, cold sweat clinging to my skin. The lamp flickered on its own, and in the silence that followed, a sound from downstairs. The mirror scraping, as if a hand pressed against the inside of the glass, trying to get out. The days blurred together. I stopped keeping track. Morning light felt weak here. The night endless. The house had grown louder. No longer just creaks. No longer just knocks. Voices, low at first, barely a breath, then clearer, distinct. They came from the walls, from the ceiling, from beneath the floorboards. Whispers, calling my name, sometimes in unison, sometimes in different tones. Men, women, children. I pressed my ear to the plaster, cold against my skin. The voices hissed just beyond the surface. Open the door. Let us in. We're waiting. I staggered back, covered my ears. But the voices seeped through, whispering, chanting, calling. That night, I walked the halls with a lantern. The flame flickered violently, though no draft stirred. The locked door at the end of the hall rattled as I passed. Something slammed against it, once, twice, like fists pounding. I ran downstairs. The grandfather clock began ticking again, slow, heavy, though its hands still did not move. Then I heard them, the whispers, all around me. Circling, I turned, searching for a source. The wallpaper near the dining room began to peel, as if fingers pressed from beneath it. The sheet over the mirror stirred, shifted. Something underneath it was moving. I couldn't breathe. The walls seemed to pulse. The whispers rose into moans, then into screams, and through the chaos, one voice rose above the rest, deep, low, almost human. Not much longer. The house fell silent, completely still, except for the steady sound of footsteps coming down the stairs. The storm rolled in without warning. Lightning flashed across the hills. Thunder shook the old house to its bones. I sat in the dark, the lantern long since burned out. The fireplace smoldered, choking the air with smoke. Every corner of the house seemed alive, breathing, waiting. The footsteps had not stopped. They moved through the halls, pacing, circling, climbing the stairs. I clutched the iron poker from the fireplace, but it felt useless in my trembling hand. The locked door rattled violently. The knob spun, scraping metal against wood. Something was forcing it, beating against it. Then the bolt gave way. The door creaked open. Darkness pooled from the room beyond, thick and unnatural. The whispers poured out with it. I stepped back, shielding my face. The air grew colder. The floor trembled beneath me. A figure emerged, tall, bent, its limbs too long. Its face blurred, shifting like the reflection in that cursed mirror. It moved without sound, except for the voices that clung to it. Hundreds of voices, screaming, begging, whispering my name. I stumbled backwards down the stairs. The figure followed, slow, unhurried. I turned, desperate, running for the front door. The wood splintered beneath my fists as I tried to wrench it open. It would not move. The handle seared cold into my skin. The voices rose to a fever pitch. The walls bulged as if something inside them pressed outward, reaching. The ceiling cracked. Dust rained down, and then the mirror. The sheet had fallen away. Its surface rippled again, like black water. A second figure reached through. Then another, and another. I screamed. The house swallowed the sound. The last thing I saw was my own reflection, staring back at me from the glass. But it was smiling, and I was not. And so, the house on Hollow Creek still waits, empty, silent, hungry, they say. On stormy nights, the windows glow faintly. And if you stand close enough, you'll hear them, the voices, calling, always calling, perhaps for you. Thank you for joining me tonight. Sleep well, if you can. Until next time, good night.